Judge asks woman why she wants a divorce. Her answer is priceless. A judge was interviewing a woman regarding her pending divorce and asked, "What are the grounds for your divorce?" She replied, "About 4 acres and a nice little home in the middle of the property with a stream running by." "No," he said. "I mean, what is the foundation of this case?" "It is made of concrete, brick, and mortar," she responded. "I mean," he continued, "what are your relations like?" "I have an aunt and uncle living here in town, and so do my husband's parents." "Do you have a real grudge?" "No," she replied. "We have a 2-car carport and have never really needed one." "Please," he tried again. "Is there any infidelity in your marriage?" "Yes, both my son and daughter have stereo sets. We don't necessarily like the music, but the answer to your questions is yes." "Ma'am, does your husband ever beat you up?" "Yes," she responded. "About twice a week he gets up earlier than I do." Finally, in frustration, the judge asked, "Lady, why do you want a divorce?" "Oh, I don't want a divorce," she replied. "I've never wanted a divorce. My husband does. He says he can't communicate with me." 0. Tiger Woods and Stevie Wonder are in a party. Tiger turns to Stevie and says, "How's the singing career going?" Stevie replies, "Not too bad." "How's the golf?" Woods replies, "Not too bad. I've had some problems with my swing, but I think I've got that right now." Stevie says, "I always find that when my swing goes wrong, I need to stop playing for a while and not think about it. Then the next time I play, it seems to be all right, huh?" Incredulous, Tiger says, "You play golf?" Stevie says, "Yes, I've been playing for years." Tiger says, "But you're blind. How can you play golf if you can't see?" Stevie Wonder replies, "Well, I get my caddy to stand in the middle of the fairway and call to me. I listen for the sound of his voice and play the ball towards him. Then when I get to where the ball lands, the caddy moves to the green or farther down the fairway, and again I play the ball towards his voice." "But how do you putt?" asks Tiger. "Well," says Stevie, "I get my caddy to lean down in front of the hole and call to me with his head on the ground, and I just play the ball toward his voice." Tiger asks, "What's your handicap?" Stevie says, "Well, actually, I'm a scratch golfer." Woods, incredulous, says to Stevie, "We've got to play around sometime." Stevie replies, "Well, people don't take me seriously, so I only play for money and never play for less than $10,000 a hole. Is that a problem?" Woods thinks about it and says, "I can afford that. Okay, I'm game for that. $10,000 a hole is fine with me. When would you like to play?" Stevie Wonder says, "Pick a night." 1. A woman awakes in the middle of the night to find her husband not in bed. She puts on her robe and goes downstairs to look for him. She finds him sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of hot cocoa in front of him. He appears to be in deep thought, just staring at the wall. She watches as he wipes away a tear from his eye. "What's the matter, dear?" she whispers as she steps into the room. "Why are you down here at this time of night?" The husband looks up from his drink. "It's the 20th anniversary of the day we met." She can't believe he has remembered and starts to tear up. The husband continues, "Do you remember 20 years ago when we started dating? I was 18 and you were only 15, he said solemnly. Once again, the wife is touched to tears, thinking that her husband is so caring and sensitive. "Yes, I do," she replies. The husband pauses. The words were not coming easily. "Do you remember when your father caught us in the backseat of my car?" "Yes, I remember," said the wife, lowering herself into a chair beside him. The husband continued, "Do you remember when he shoved the shotgun in my face and said, Either you marry my daughter, or I will make sure you spend the next 20 years in prison." "I remember that too," she replied softly. He sighed as he wiped another tear away from his cheek and said, "I would have gotten out today." 2. A man and his wife were cleaning out their attic when the man found a shoe repair stub in the pocket of an old jacket. "Hey, check this out," he said to his wife. "This stub is 20 years old. I wonder if the shop still has the shoes." So the next day, the man went to the shoe shop and asked the owner if he still had the shoes. The owner disappeared into the back of the shop for about 5 minutes. When he returned, he replied happily, "Yup, believe it or not, we've still got the shoes. They'll be ready next Thursday." 3. A couple was about to celebrate 50 years together. Their 3 kids, all very successful and wealthy, agreed to a Sunday dinner in honor of their parents. As usual, they were all late and had varied excuses. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad," gushed son number 1. "Sorry, I'm running late. I just didn't have the time to get you a present." "No worries," said Dad. "The important thing is that we're all together." Son number 2 arrived and announced, "Just flew in from LA and didn't have time to get you anything. I'm sorry." "It's nothing," said the father. "Just glad you could be here today." The daughter arrived. "Happy anniversary. I'm sorry, but I've been out of town and didn't bring a present." Again, the father said, "I really don't care. At least the 5 of us are together today." Later during dinner, the father put down his fork, looked up and said, "Listen, you 3, there's something your mother and I need to tell you. We came to this country penniless and desperate. Despite this, we were able to raise you and send you to college, but we never got around to getting married." The 3 kids gasped and said in unison, "You mean we're "Yep," said the dad, "and cheap ones too." 4. 3 weddings were occurring the same hotel one weekend. After the ceremonies and wedding meals, all 3 grooms happened to be at the restaurant at the same time, and they got talking about how they were looking forward to their wedding nights. The first groom said, "Hey, we should let each other know how we got on. How about at breakfast, the number of pieces of toast we order is the number of times we consummated our marriages." The other 2 grooms agreed, and they went on their way, partying until the small hours, whereupon they took their respective brides to their respective rooms for their respective wedding nights. The next morning at breakfast, they all gave each other little smiles until the waiter asked the first groom how many pieces of toast he would like. "Just 3 pieces of toast for me," he announced, and the other 2 grooms gave him appreciative nods. The second groom, when asked by the waiter, said in a slightly louder voice, "I shall have 5, yes, 5 pieces of toast, please." And with a big grin, he looked around and saw the other 2 grooms winking and raising their glasses of orange juice in his direction. Finally, the waiter approached the third groom and asked him how many pieces of toast he would like. The man answered, "I will have 7 pieces of toast, please. And can you make 2 of them brown?" 5. 2 couples were playing poker one evening. Dave accidentally dropped some cards on the floor. When he bent down under the table to pick them up, he noticed Carl's wife, Kate, wasn't wearing any underwear under her dress. Shocked by this, Dave, upon trying to sit back up again, hit his head on the table and emerged red-faced. Later, Dave went to the kitchen to get some refreshments. Carl's wife followed and asked, "Did you see anything that you like under there?" Surprised by her boldness, Dave admitted that, well, indeed he did. She said, "Well, you can have it, but it will cost you $500. After taking a minute or 2 to assess the financial and moral costs of this offer, Dave confirmed that he was interested. Kate told him that since her husband Carl played golf Friday afternoons and Dave didn't, Dave should be at her house around 2 p.m. Friday afternoon. When Friday rolled around, Dave showed up at Carl's house at 2 p.m. sharp, and after paying Kate the agreed sum of $500. They went to the bedroom and closed their transaction as agreed. Dave quickly dressed and left. As usual, Carl came home from golf at 6 p.m. and upon arriving, asked his wife, "Did Dave come by the house this afternoon?" With a lump in her throat, Kate answered, "Why, yes. He did stop by for a few minutes this afternoon." Her heart nearly skipped a beat when her husband curtly asked, "And did he give you $500? Kate, using her best poker face, replied, "Well, yes, in fact, he did give me $500. Carl, with a satisfied look on his face, surprised his wife by saying, "He came by the golf club this morning and borrowed $500 from me. He promised he'd stop by our house this afternoon on his way home and pay me back." 6. On the first night of their honeymoon, the new bride tells her husband, "I have a confession to make. I'm not a virgin. I've been with one other guy." The husband replies, "Oh yeah? Who was the guy?" The wife responds, "Tiger Woods, the golfer." The husband nods and says, "Well, he's rich, famous, and handsome. I can understand that." The couple then makes passionate love. When they finish, the husband gets up and walks to the telephone. The wife asks, "What are you doing?" The husband replies, "I'm hungry. I'm calling room service." The wife teases, "Tiger wouldn't do that." The husband, surprised, asks, "Oh yeah? What would Tiger do?" The wife responds, "He'd come back to bed and do it a second time." The husband drops the phone and makes love to his wife a second time. When they finish, he goes back to the phone. The wife asks again, "What are you doing now?" The man replies, "I'm still hungry, so I'm going to ring room service for some food." The wife smirks and says, "Tiger wouldn't do that." The husband sighs, "Oh yeah? What would Tiger do?" The wife, smiling, replies, "He'd come back to bed and do it one more time." The husband, determined, puts the phone down and heads back to bed. Exhausted after the third lovemaking session, he shuffles back to the phone and starts to dial. The wife asks, "Are you calling room service?" The man replies, "No, I'm calling Tiger Woods to find out what's par for this dam." 7. There was a thief and a politician who were friends. One day they entered a chocolate store. While they were busy looking around, the thief stole 3 chocolate bars. As they left the store, the thief said to the politician, "Man, I'm the best thief ever. I stole 3 chocolates and no one saw me." "You can't beat that." The politician replied, "You want to see something better? Let's go back to the shop and I'll show you real stealing." So they went to the counter and politician said to the shopkeeper, "Hey, do you want to see magic?" The shopkeeper replied, "Sure." The politician says, "Give me 1 chocolate bar." The shopkeeper gave him one, and he ate it. He asked for a second, and he ate that as well. He asked a third and finished that one too. The shopkeeper asked, "But where's the magic?" The politician replied, "Check in my friend's pocket, and you'll find it." Ha. The CIA lost track of its operative Murphy in Ireland. The CIA director said, "All I can tell you is his name is Murphy, and he's somewhere in Ireland. If you think you've located him, tell him the code words, 'The weather forecast calls for mist in the morning.' If it's really him, he'll answer, 'Yes, and for mist at noon as well.'" The operative went to Ireland and stopped in a bar in a small town. He said to the barman, "Maybe you can help me? I'm looking for a guy named Murphy." The bartender replied, "You're going to have to be more specific because around here there are lots of guys named Murphy. There's Murphy, the baker who runs the pastry shop on the next block. There's Murphy, the banker who's president of our local savings bank. There's Murphy, the blacksmith who works at the stables. And as a matter of fact, my name is Murphy, too." Hearing this, the operative figured he might as well try the code words on the bartender, so he said, "The weather forecast calls for mist in the morning." The bartender replied, "Oh, you're looking for Murphy the Spy. He lives right down the street." 9. A woman and a man are involved in a car accident. It's a bad one. Both of their cars are totally demolished, but amazingly, neither of them are hurt. After they crawl out of their cars, the woman says, "So, you're a man? That's interesting. I'm a woman. Wow, just look at our cars. There's nothing left, but fortunately, we are unhurt. This must be a sign from God that we should meet and be friends and live together in peace for the rest of our days." The man replied, "I agree with you completely." "This must be a sign from God," the woman continued. "And look at this. Here's another miracle. My car is completely demolished, but this bottle of wine didn't break. Surely us to drink this wine and celebrate our good fortune." Then she hands the bottle to the man. The man nods his head in agreement, opens it and drinks half the bottle and then hands it back to the woman. The woman takes the bottle, immediately puts the cork back in and hands it back to the man. The man asks, "Aren't you having any?" The woman replies, "No, I think I'll just wait for the police." 10. Did you hear about the Texas teacher who was helping one of her kindergarten students put on his cowboy boots? He asked for help, and she could see why. Even with her pulling and him pushing, the little boot still didn't want to go on. By the time they got the second boot on, she had worked up a sweat. She almost cried when the little boy said, "Teacher, they're on the wrong feet." She looked, and sure enough, they were. It wasn't any easier pulling the boots off than it was putting them on. She managed to keep her cool, as together they worked to get the boots back on, this time on the right feet. He then announced, "These aren't my boots." She bit her tongue rather than get right in his face and scream, "Why didn't you say so?" like she wanted to. Once again, she struggled to help him pull the ill-fitting boots off his little feet. No sooner had they gotten the boots off when he said, "They're my brother's boots. My mom made me wear them." Now she didn't know if she should laugh or cry. But she mustered up what grace and courage she had left to wrestle the boots on his feet again. Helping him into his coat, she asked, "Now, where are your mittens?" He said, "I stuffed them in the toes of my boots." She will be eligible for parole in 3 years. 11. 3 women worked in the same office with the same female boss. Each day, the boss left work early. One day, the women decided that when the boss left, they would leave too. After all, she never called or came back to work, so how would she know they went home early? The brunette was thrilled to be home early. She did a little gardening, had some playtime with her son, and went to bed early. The redhead was elated to be able to get in a quick workout at the spa before meeting a dinner date. The blonde was happy to get home early and surprise her husband. But when she got home, she heard a muffled noise coming from inside her bedroom. Slowly and quietly, she cracked open the door and was mortified to see her husband in bed with her boss. Gently, she closed the door and crept out of her house. The next day, at their coffee break, the brunette and redhead said they planned to leave early again, and they asked the blonde if she was going to go with them. "No way," she said. "I almost got caught yesterday."